Hello, my name is Kyle Kline. I am the coordinator of digital learning at Twin Lakes School Corporation in Monticello, Indiana, just up the road from Purdue University and a little bit south of Chicago. So I'd like to welcome you to session 2 of micro-credentialing in your district. In the first session, we covered kind of like more of a general overview of what micro-credentialing is, also known as a badging program for your district. So today we're really going to dig into the tools a little bit deeper, and we're actually going to go through how to create some of these badges. So before we get started, I need to give you a couple reminders. So with the On24 Learning platform, you have to keep in mind that all your windows are resizable and they're movable. So you can move around to specialize your experience as you are going through, as you're watching this video with me today. There is a related content box where there should be posted a Google Doc with or a PDF with some different resources that you can access. So some of the tools that we get into today should have those links to get to a little bit easier for you as we move through this. Feel free to pause and create something on the side as we go through this today, because we're going to go through 2 or 3 tools that, as I go through them, I may go through them a little fast. Feel free to pause the video as you go through. We really don't have a Q&A for this since it is not live, but please feel free to give me a call on, I guess you can't call me on the phone, but you can send me an email or you can send me a message through Twitter, and those will be available at the very end of the session. Feel free to use the toolbar to access any other features as you go through this. So with that being said, let's move on to our next session 2 here. So we're going to talk about how we create and award your badges. So we want to first design our micro-credentialing badge in Canva. We're going to talk about how we can create criteria for each of your micro-credentialing badges. And then we're also going to get into how we create a submission form and set notifications for badge submissions, because you don't want people in your district saying, hey, did you receive my submission? Or have you looked at the badges recently, because I sent something in a couple weeks ago and just haven't heard back. So we want to make that as fluid as possible for you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how we can design your badges. So you can actually use multiple different platforms. My favorite is Canva, but there are actually a few different options. So we're going to get into Canva today, and I'm going to show you how to use Canva to create your badges. But you can also use something like Adobe Spark. If you're a big Adobe fan, hey, feel free, because Adobe Spark has some pretty awesome features in it, and it's free. So you can also use Google Drawings. I know a lot of friends that are big fans of Google Drawings, and they will create their badges within Google Drawings. It's all within Google. It's wonderful. It can move into your Google website at a later time. They love it. So we're going to actually start with our Canva. So let's go into my Canva page here. So I have already logged into Canva, and I do want to recommend to you to look up Canva Education, because if you sign up for the Educator package, it's free. You get all of their pro templates and icons and things like that for free. Otherwise, if you just use the free version of it, you don't get all the fancy schmancy stuff. So when I am looking here, this is our first page, and on the left you can see I have my TLSC badge projects. This has a bunch of my badges in here already. You can see a lot of them look the same. I'm trying to stick with a little consistency here for the teachers, but I'm also trying to use, in this case, I was using Google, and I was trying to use the Google colors that went along with it. But I'm going to go back here to Home, and if you want to just create a design, you either click on Create a Design, or you can go here and you can start typing in like badges. Badge logo. So I'm going to go down here to badge logo. And the cool thing about this is look at all of these different options. So you have tons of different templates that you can take and you can make it your own. So if there's something here that you see like, oh, hey, I kind of like that, I'm going to go with that, and that's going to kind of be whatever I start with. So You can tell that mine kind of start off with like a food festival is what we did. So if I choose this as my template, the neat thing about Canva is everything is lined up. You have everything is editable also. If I move this word recess, it shows some different lines here. I have these purple dashed lines. I have a line in the center, so it shows me where I center things. If I move it over here, if I pull it off, it's not like Google Slides or Google Drawings where you can see it off to the left. So sometimes you're going to have to move some of these items if you want here. So say if you want to get rid of something, you always hit the backspace key or delete. You can get rid of this here. So see ya, that's gone. We can add some different fonts, and there's different things you can do here in Canva. So if I want to change this, so I can just click on this large red circular object, and I can change the color by going up here to this color box. And say I want to make it, let's go with like a pretty aqua blue here. Now you don't have to use just these colors. Something I've done is I have looked up the color numbers that you can, the chroma key numbers that you can type in here. So notice you can search for specific colors. So if I just type in teal, it'll pull up this color and pull up all these different options. And this is nice for when you are within Canva because it gives you these other features and these other suggestions. So if I look at gazing at tomorrow, I could choose this color here, but then it gives me some other color schemes that I could use along with it. So I'm going to go with teal here, and this yellow is not too terrible. But what if I wanted to go with like a little more yellow? Maybe I don't like that. Okay, maybe that's too yellow. So I'm actually going to hit the backspace button here. While I'm up here in this toolbar, I am going to change this. So I'm going to call this my Keep Indiana Learning logo. Hit enter. So now this is renamed. I can change these however I want. So if I want to maybe add some an image back here in the back, I can add an image. I can search for images over here. I can search for photos where they have a lot of free to reuse photos that you can put in here. Maybe I want to look for something fun like a Canva logo. So maybe we'll see if they have the actual Canva logo. Well, they don't. But they do have Twitter, so let's just pull a Twitter icon over here. So I can click on this Twitter icon. I can resize it. Notice if I hover over these different images, it's going to tell me whether they're free. This should get to like some edu. So if it says edu, it may say paid on your version if you don't have the teacher version yet. But I have edu, and it's free, don't forget. So I'm going to use my little Twitter symbol, and I'm going to move, oops, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to move this guy here, and this is going to be my symbol. Now, I could center this with the rest of my circle, like we have right here, so I can do that. And say I don't really want the Twitter bird in front of this kind of orangish color, but what I can do with my Twitter bird is I can click on that Twitter bird and I can go up here to position, and I can move it backward like one layer. You got to keep in mind when you're going in Canva, these are kind of layers. So I'm going to move it to the back. If I move it all the way to the back, oh shoot, I moved it too far back. So I'm going to move it forward a little bit, maybe move it forward again. Here we go. So now it is in front of the badge in the back, the big layer, your big circle you have, but it is behind the orangish bronze color here. Now I'm going to make this a little smaller, and I can make my my words a little smaller as well. But I'm going to make this a little tinier. And now if I go into my food, I can change my font size for this, and I'm actually going to change this. So I'm going to say Twitter Wizard. That's going to be my badge name here. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. I can move this and I can center it onto my bronze or orange background here. I can even change the length of my background if I want to make it smaller. Say I want to bring these in a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's okay. Maybe I'll just undo that. I don't like that as well. So I'm going to move that here. Now you can also add so many different things. You can change the font. There's different elements over here if you're not real sure. It shows some of the different things I have. So maybe I want to pull a microphone in here and I want to say that this bird is talking into the microphone. I don't know why it is, but it just is. So I'm going to make the microphone here. So it looks like the bird is actually tweeting, and I'm going to move this back a little bit. So I'm going to move it just backward. There we go. So now we have a bird talking into a microphone. This is the Twitter wizard. Now, if I wanted to make this teal color the same as this blue, if I click on the teal color, I can go up here to my colors, and it is going to choose. It's going to tell you have an image of this Twitter bird, the Twitter icon. It's going to give you the colors that are in that icon, which is just fabulous because then you can make all of your things just look so much better. So I'm going to change this to the blue. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks great. Well, maybe that's too blue. I want to change this inside circle, and I'm going to change that color, and maybe I want to change that to maybe a yellow. And like, I don't like that background. Maybe I want to make it green. I don't like that either. What about a lighter blue? I could do that. I could do something fun like that. So I can change that layer that's at the very bottom. So there's a lot of different things you can look at in changing your badges. I recommend just getting in and playing around. Find a template that you really like within Canva, and then you want to make sure that you find that and you save that. What I did after this was on the next step, once I have my badge created, I go to download and I just do the recommended PNG. So I can download this. And since I use Chrome, it's going to come down to the very bottom of my Chrome. It will also go into your downloads on your computer, whether you are on a Mac or whether you're on a Windows device. So either one will work for that. And then if I hit this, once this is done, my computer's a little slow here. So this can save it. I'm going to call it the Keep Indiana Learning logo. We'll hit save. And there it is on the bottom of my tray. So now I'm done. And the reason I do this first is because I want to create next my criteria. And this badge is a really important part of my criteria. So I'm going to save this. I can move this into a folder. I'd recommend doing that. The other thing you can do is you can also make this badge. You can create a folder within Canva over here on the left. Or you can create a folder if you go into your folders, and I can use this. I can also see my recent over here or any of my starred options. Like I said before, I have my badge project, so this houses all of my badges I made. Once you find if you want to keep a consistent design for your badge, then I highly recommend, going into, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Finding that badge, and then let me refresh this so we'll show the correct learning logo here. Oh, sometimes it doesn't show the preview very well, but it is there. If I want to just copy this, I can click on these three dots and I can make a copy of it. And this will show that I have a copy of my Keep Indiana Learning badge. This is where I will just rename it. And then I can change this to Keep Indiana Learning logo 2 or something. And then I can go in and I can edit this. So one thing I didn't show back here with images, if I wanted to use the Keep Indiana Learning logo, then what I can do is I can go over here to my uploads. And in my uploads, you can see that I have uploaded a bunch of different images. So I can download anything to my computer and upload it into my media here. I have some other things I've created along here. So you can and then once you upload them, you can drag them over onto your design. So keep in mind, you can upload your own media as you go through here. So let me get out of here. So that is a super quick way of showing how you can create a badge within Canva. Notice I still have it down here on the bottom, because for my next step, what we want to do is we want to talk about our criteria. What's going to be our criteria for our micro-credentials? And this will be different for your, some of them will have more bullet points, some of them will have a little bit less. So we want to talk about what the badge represents and what's going to be your main goal and what do you want your educators to be able to do. So we talk about criteria. Keep in mind, think of like how many different levels you want to go with each badge. I showed you in the previous video that some badges, some of the different sections we have only one badge, some have up to 3. And I would recommend kind of sticking with 3. Don't go a whole lot past that unless you want to dig really deep into something, whether it's Canvas or something like that you use a lot of and you want to go really deep into it. What will they submit as evidence? So are you going to have your teachers submit either are they going to submit like a screencast, a Loom video, a screencastify of demonstrating what they learned for this badge? Or are they going to just submit some images onto a Google Doc or Microsoft Word document that they're going to submit to you? And finally, how will they submit it? So let's look at an option for what they create. So I do have in the resources, there should be a badge template. And this is what I've used. And this is what I actually got this from a group out in California. So I want to make sure I give the credit to where the credit's due. And this is a couple of gentlemen that have done badging for a few years now in their district, and they are just the king of badges. And I've seen them present at some different conferences. We've used the same format for creating some things for the Indiana Migrant Education Program as well. So I like using this template. It keeps things nice and tidy. It looks pretty nice. So here's a nice little template you can start with. The other thing I'll do is I'll give you, I will include like this Google Docs badge as well, a template, so you can kind of look at this. So if I look at my Google Docs, one thing I did was I added just our Twin Lakes School District logo that I created. And you can see this looks very similar to what we just did in Canva. Just changed the colors in the background, added our mascot, changed the fonts, where you can kind of bend those words as well. And then I have the badge that I created for Google Docs. So I added these, and that's why I've left this Keep Indiana Learning down here, because I can just drag this up into my Google Doc. Excuse me. I can adjust this image where I can crop it by double clicking on it, making it smaller. And I can also click out of it, and then I can resize it. And when I resize it, I can change these options so I can wrap my text. So that way I can move this wherever I want. And the other nice thing is then it gives you these little height options where you can make sure it's the same height as your other badge that may be across from it. So I can move this over here if I wanted to, and it's going to be back there. I don't want to do that, but let's just delete that. So that is how I keep that item in the bottom. That's why I like to do create my badge first, then go to my criteria. So you can first talk about the badge and what it represents, and then you can talk about how do you earn this badge. So this is where they start getting their criteria. And you want to make sure that anybody with the link can view. I like this because some teachers might be working on some options that are outside of your school district, and you're not going to be able to view it. So you hate to have to send an email back. So I always like to have that big bolded. That way the teachers or the educators do not forget this. You go down here and you start adding in your different criteria. And then as I scroll down a little bit further, here's our submit button. And when they click on the submit evidence, that's going to take them to Google Form where they're going to actually take they're going to submit their badge. So this is Google Docs 1, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But then if they have any questions, they can contact me. So they have an email here where they can send me any messages. I also like to add a couple links for help in case any of the teachers are somewhat new to the program, or if they might run into a little help. It's nice to give them some options for when they are trying to learn what they're doing here at the badge, if they're not fully sure what they are doing. So I go through, here's my different criteria. I want to make sure that this criteria does not end up in Google Docs 2 also, or Google Docs 3. So I always want to keep trying to push them through those different limits. So this is our finished criteria doc. And before I get out of this, this is what we're going to link in our website. And this will be like, that'll be in session 3 once we create our Google website. So here's our criteria. This is nice and pretty for everybody to be able to view. Make sure you keep it in your Google Drive, or if you use OneDrive, you're making this in Microsoft, keep it in your OneDrive, and then keep it under your Google Docs options under your folder here. So if I go back over to our presentation, we want to talk about, well, how are they going to submit their criteria, right? The easiest way to do this, if you are there's 2 different options if you have Microsoft or Google. So I'm sticking with the Google theme here. And you can either use Google Forms or Forms in Microsoft. The big thing you want to make sure you remember is to set your notifications. And when you set your notifications, this is going to help you receive those emails instead of you always having to keep a tab open to go into the spreadsheet to see if anybody's submitted anything, because you may go a couple of hours, a couple of minutes, you may go a couple of days, weeks, months in between submissions. So setting those notifications, you receive that email, is definitely a big help. So I'm going to go over here to I Keep Indiana Learning. Oh, no, actually, I'm going to start here. So this is my badge submission form that I've created for our district. So they have a first name and last name. I like to separate first and last name. That way, when I go into the actual spreadsheet, I can, filter according to last name or first name, because we have in our district, we have some people with the same last names. You might have Smiths, Jones, Conrads, whatever you have. So I have a school email address, and this is important because then I will be submitting something back to the folks at that point. And then what building they are in. And then which badge they're submitting evidence for. And then they paste their link to their evidence. So this is either going to be their link to their Loom video, link to their Google Doc, or their Microsoft Word document. This is what they're going to be submitting to you. So you can look through, check off those check marks off that criteria, make sure that they accomplish everything as well. That's another reason for the school email address, is that way you can contact those folks in case they might have missed one or two. You want to make sure that you are consistent with that as well. So what I have done is I've also added a form notification. So if I go under my add-ons, let me see it here, get rid of it. If I go to my add-ons, I actually added a form notifications. And so when I have a form notification, I have it set up so that anytime anybody submits via this form, it's going to send an email to me. And I can add multiple emails in here if I want. This is just my Google account. And you can, how often you want your notifications. It starts off at 10. Well, I don't want to wait till I have 10. I want to make sure I get notified every single time. And then you can also send a thank you email if you like. But I like using form notifications because then I don't have to keep this tab open all the time. So that will send me an email once I get a response. So let's look at how we create our Google form. So this is our Keep Indiana Learning badge submission form. So I'm going to call this first name, and it'll probably change. Yeah, short answer. I want to make sure this is required. I want to duplicate this. I want to say this is last name, and then I can put in their email address. They're all short answers. Address, I'm not sure about that. These are all short answers, and then I can put in, whatever their school is or location, and then I'm going to make this short answer a multiple choice, and I can say I am here, or I can also say that I am there. Those are my locations. And then I can put in their short form here for what badge they are looking for. I would probably make this a little bit better, so I'm going to go back over here. So this is going to be a badge you are submitting evidence for. There we go. So I'm going to say, what badge you are submitting evidence for. I know I don't like that wording, but that's just kind of how it's going to be today. I do want to change this to a short answer. And then I'm going to add that one more time, and this is going to be my evidence link. So a lot of these are short answer, but remember we talked about how once somebody submits something, we really want to make sure that we have a notification. So I'm going to go to my add-ons. If you don't have form notifications, you can go to and create more, find that add-on. If you go into your three dots, and then you go down here to add-ons, and then I created this, or I found this just by typing in notifications. And I just chose the first one here. That's nice because it's very simple. It's just a couple clicks that you have to type. And then once you have that notification on, it's going to show up in your, or once you create that, it's going to be in your add-ons. And then what I can do is I can submit, I can create my add-on, or I can edit that to submitting me add-on or emails as soon as somebody submits their evidence. So I hope this helped a little bit in creating your form. I would say once you go to your responses, make sure you create a spreadsheet, because then that way you can go through your different badges. You can see who's doing what. You can see how many a certain teacher has had. And there's a lot of ways that you can just take your data and you can move it around, and you can get some of those that you can even share with your school board or your superintendent or the administration team. Say, oh, so-and-so has created, or they've done 10 badges, and we really want to give them a big thumbs up or a shout out, and just make sure that they are being recognized for their efforts. So that is how we went through today, how to create a badge in Canva. We went through how to go through your criteria, right, and create your criteria that you are wanting to, that each teacher or each educator to complete, and then how to create your badge submission form. In the next video, what we'll do is we'll show how to create your Google website and how we can start putting all of this together by using our badge, our criteria, our form, and then how we can use Badger or Credly to create how we can award those badges to those teachers. So thank you for joining today. Make sure if you have not already watched session 1 that you check out session 1 and move on to session 3. Have a great day.